Hey guys, and welcome back to the shop. If you are new here, I am the convicted Christian. I did almost 10 years in prison. I am now 8 years since release, 6 years off of parole, almost 7 years off of parole. I am 7 years clean and sober, and I believe it is all thanks to God's love for me. So continuing the new tradition of a Bible verse, I'm going to go with a real simple one that just about everybody knows, and it's the source. I don't know if it's a source, but it's one of the verses that is what I believe should be pivotal in a new believer's faith, and that is John 3:16. For God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son, so that those who shall believe in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. We hear it so many times, and I don't know how many of us actually internalize it and give it its due respect and reverence, because it's powerful. It's probably one of the most powerful verses you're ever going to find in the Bible, at least in my opinion, because it's what starts the path for so many people. And it's something that we should never forget if you're a believer. Now, I'm sorry for this being here, but you are sitting currently on the bottom of my workbench that I'm working on my Hobby Fridays. And this was the best spot, and you got a prime view of a pine dimensional lumber leg. Doesn't look great, but I'm hoping that when it's all together, it'll look rustic. Whatever word we're using now in the cool spaces. If you're a returning viewer, you know that it is What I Learned Wednesday, where I talk about Life Story Monday, what I learned in that time. And this week, we'll be talking about my time in minimum prison. I almost don't want to call it a prison, because the things that we were allowed to do and the benefits we were allowed to have, the privileges that we were given, it almost didn't feel like a prison. It almost felt like a camp, like was what we called it. Like I had mentioned in Life Story Monday, on the way there, you don't have waist shackles. And what I learned is that freedom, actual literal freedom, is something to be admired, it's something to be sought after, and it's something to be defended. Now, in this time of my life, I really wish that I had the ability to get into the military. The felonies kind of wouldn't allow that to happen, so that's not an option. But I had a newfound pride, if you want to call it that, in my country. I had some pride in how far I had come. Maybe it was misplaced, because I shouldn't really be proud. And overall, I was just extremely, extremely grateful that I got to start experiencing some more freedoms. Us as humans, at least what I've noticed, being in all sorts of different settings and capacities, something that I noticed as human beings, we're not really good at confinement. Some of us may be able to handle it better than others, but we're not really built for confinement. We're built for structure, absolutely. But something that I noticed when I went to the minimum camp was the lack of fences. I mean, we literally had no fences. I mean, yes, there was cameras, there was other things there that would make it very difficult to escape if you wanted to escape. But not having the razor wire, not having the electrified fence, not having the double layer entrance, made it. It's hard to describe if you haven't been there or haven't had to deal with it. It is a world of difference, and it makes you feel almost free. You're about as free as you can be without actually being free. And that taught me that on top of the whole freedom thing, to not confine myself within rigid structures. Now, there's discipline, and then there's rigid, unprobable confinements and structure that we self-impose onto ourselves, onto each other, and we can't allow that to stop us from growing. We can't let that stop us from continuing on, from failing. There are highly successful people that try so hard not to fail that in the long run they end up failing because they don't give themselves the option of learning and continuing on. They may have in the beginning when they first started out and were first getting successful, but it seems like we get complacent and we're always going to win, we're always going to be successful, and so you can put improbable, unrealistic constraints on the structure you've built for yourself where you're not allowed to fail. And we all need to fail. As crazy as that seems, we all need to fail at some point. Sooner rather than later as well. And we'll fail multiple times. And that gives us a teaching moment. That gives us the ability to learn. And it gives us the opportunity to see how we're going to react to the failure. If we're all good and glory about it, well, then we don't need a lot to change. But if we're going to be downtrodden, if we're going to want to quit, we can put in things, routines, reminders that when we fail again, we're going to be able to come back a little bit faster, come back a little bit stronger, and maybe not go down that spiraling road of doubt and fear. And so knowing that, or believing that we're not really built for physical constraints or mental and psychological restraints, I had to learn to accept the things like the AA prayer. I can't remember it by heart, but it talks about accepting the things we can't change, the wisdom, or having the courage to change we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And all that's saying is you don't fail when things get tough. And you don't become weak and cowardly when an obstacle is in your way. And you need to know the difference between things you can change, things you cannot change. And being able to keep that in mind helps us not build those constraints around ourselves. It'll also help us delineate our discipline from unrealistic expectations of ourselves. So that was something that kind of came with it, and I didn't expect that one. Third thing I learned during this time is to expect the unexpected, which you can't do because it's unexpected. It's kind of like the whole Murphy's Law thing. You can be prepared as you want, but when things are going to go wrong, things are going to go wrong if you like it or not. But expect the unexpected. One of my cellmates was actually in a band with the lead singer and guitarist of the band I had at Jackson. And they actually had taken pictures together. And so they could prove that they had been together and played music together. And I was like, small world. Talk about a small world. And yes, our world is extremely large. It is. And even though we think that it's shrinking every day, It's not. It is very large. But we don't actually live in the entire world. We live in our own little world around us. And the connections that are around us are actually mind-boggling. And being able to put some of those connections together to make something happen, it can be easier than you think. So if you have an idea for something, if you have a business proposal and you know someone that dabbles in it, or may know someone else that does it, it may hurt you in the long run, depending on who it is, but as long as they're trustworthy, don't be afraid to try to make those connections. Because those connections are going to open up a world that you didn't know was out there. It's going to open up more than you think. And that will absolutely blow your mind away whenever you step out into it, with the knowledge that there's people you know, and there's other people you know, and they know each other, and you never knew about it. That was a lot. That was very wordy for that last one. And the last thing I learned is that a lot of people are actually willing to give you a chance. Not everybody. People that have responsibilities, like recruiters, hiring managers, they aren't just thinking about you. They're thinking about the people that you're going to be working with. They're thinking about the company, and they're thinking about their own jobs. But in general, most people that I've come across, once you're able to show them, hey, I'm human just like you. I've messed up. I'm trying to make it better. I'm doing the best I can, and I could use a little help in this particular part of my life, or I could really use your support at this time. So many of them seem like they are willing to help and help you get to the next stage and get you to where you need to be. And we're not taught that in prison. We're taught by other prisoners, sometimes by guards, sometimes by workers, that no one's going to give you a chance. You got to do it all on your own, and you're going to be working so hard, and there's going to be no return on investment. And almost every single person that I've come across after my release, once I've been able to sit down and talk with them and tell them my story, or what the part of the story they want to hear, and be honest and open, they end up accepting me for who I am and seeing me for the flawed human that I am. So if you're someone that's either coming out of prison, or you're someone that's getting over alcoholism or addiction, or you're still in it and you're trying to find your way out of it, as much as you think that other people are putting you in a labeled box and writing you off, you can't do the same. You know, when you see somebody and it seems like they don't want to talk to you, it's not always about you. And if you were to sit down and actually talk to them, you would find out what was going on with them. And then if they asked about you and you told your story, they can learn about you. Give other people a chance to show you that they're not going to belittle you, and they're not going to think less than you, or less of you. Because there's a lot of people that aren't that way. There's quite a few hiring managers and recruiters like that too. They're just looking for people to work. They're just looking for people to help put the business on the right path. And if you're willing to do that, they're more than likely willing to hire you. Don't let your past rob you of the power that it's given you. That's a good line. I like that one. Don't let your past rob you of the power it has given you. And that's it for this video. I hope that everyone is doing great this Wednesday. Hump day! And I hope that I see you again on Hobby Friday. This thing's actually moving along pretty quick. I might get done a video early on this. Maybe. You'll have to wait and see. I don't know. because I got the 2 hardest parts coming up here in the next couple of days. So, take care, guys. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. If you're new, please subscribe. I'm trying to get, my message out there, and I'm trying to help as many people as I can, and you can be a part of that. You can get in on the ground floor and make a difference in someone else's life through me. I appreciate it, and always remember, if we're going to change the world, we need a little compassion so we can change ourselves. Take care, guys. I'll see you Friday.